much, Dr. Mohana. I mean, she was so kind actually introducing me and saying the words. Basically, I don't know whether I really deserve it or not. Thanks Dr. Vivek, who really received me and helped me to find out the place where I'm going to stay tonight. I thought basically the campus is so beautiful. I decided basically to spend my weekend here. Dr. Mohana said basically few things. So let me go back basically from she said that she would like to make this session interactive as much as possible, right? And I really love it. I really love it. Basically, I want to know more about you, right? What do you want to do? What is your vision of your achievement that you want to achieve, whether it's in the technical directions or in the entrepreneur or any business directions, whatever it is, right? You can ask me some questions and I will try to help you basically as much as I can. And then I will give you basically an overview of the education transformation. And as you see basically, like when I was like you 20 years back or 25 years back, there were very few universities in India, right? Only IITs and some of the regional engineering colleges, and there are a few other engineering colleges. But if you look at in the last 20 years, there has been a tremendous transformation in the education sector. And there are so many opportunities in this area. And I'll tell you basically as I go that what are the unique opportunities, and when I say opportunities means in terms of the business, right? Nobody basically will invest the money if they don't see any return of investment, right? If you look at the venture capitalist, you have a great idea, right? Now you want to basically start a company, a startup. You go and talk to the VC. VC will see basically that, okay, how much money I can make, what is the technology, what its roadmap, what its impact, what money I will get if I invest $1, a rupee, 1 rupee, will I get basically the break-even things after 2 years, and the third year I should get the 3 rupees out of that one, and fifth year it should be 8 rupees, right? So it's a huge opportunity in billions of dollars, trust me, in billions of dollars, right, in the education. There was a great article in Economic Times roughly 3 weeks back or 4 weeks back that the education business in India will cross more than $80 billion in 2014. $80 billion. Right now, we are not even spending, a 20% of it. Now, where is the business in this education? You say, hey, what's the grade? I just teachers come and teach it, right? We just learn and go. But teaching this, so far, the conventional model of teaching has been only the class-based teaching model, isn't it? Like what I'm giving a lecture or interacting with you, you are sitting here. This has been the traditional model in the industry, all over the world. But if you look at the trends, what is happening, that this teaching class model, or this is called the blended teaching model, is somewhat is diminishing, and the flipped classroom model is emerging. How many of you have heard the name of Coursera or any more? Only 1, 2, okay. So what basically they are, Khan Academy, very good. It's the same thing. Basically what they are saying is that you go and learn from wherever you want to learn. I'm a body, right? Government has assigned me basically that, okay, if you evaluate the people, it's just like a CA, chartered account, basically they come and sit with some practitioners, CA practitioners, they learn basically and then they go and qualify some exams prescribed by some particular board or some body and they get the degree. That is what the flipped classroom model, that you never see a teacher. You never see a teacher, right? What you have been given, okay, this is the, let's say, chemistry. In the chemistry, you have organic chemistry. In the organic chemistry, you need to do these 3 courses, or 3 chapters, or 5 subjects, or whatever it is. You go and learn from wherever you want to go. The best site that is available, the best material is available. You learn, you answer some questions online, and you get some expertise, you get some skills. This is what is the flipped classroom model, and this model is emerging. If you look at Coursera, right, more than few million students are enrolled. Professor Gautam Shroff from the TCS, right, he offered a course, and I think 17,000 students were enrolled in that subject. He never saw these 17,000 students face to face, but he was giving the talk on the web, putting his slides. That is what is flipped classroom model is, and this is emerging. Now, if it is flipped classroom model, so what is new in the whole education? As I said, it is transforming. There are billions of dollars, and I'll give you a very simple example. The United States spends roughly $1 trillion on the education, and roughly 1/3 of that, that is more than $300 billion goes waste. What does it mean? It means basically that students come and on the way, maybe after class 5th or 8th or 10th, he basically drops out from the school. Because either he is not interested or the teachers have not created any interest in that person. So he basically loses all his opportunities for the whole life, and that cost estimated is more than $300 billion. Huge. You can't imagine, right? So now, there are several areas in transforming the education. The first one, I'm explaining you in very simple terms, so that all of you basically have a very diverse background, can understand, right? And I'm not trying to make it this technical talk. So the first one is that in the education sector, what is the most important thing? What are the different parties in the education? What are the different parties? Sorry?
Students and teachers.
Students, teacher. Okay, so that is basically the staff. Staff is one party, which could be faculty, non-faculty, administrator. Student is one party, great.
So academic structure.
Academic, which is basically the campus, right? A university campus. But the most important, sorry?
Educational technology.
So you have a teacher, you have a faculty, right? Administration, whatever, the staff. You have a university, right? And then the important is the content. Without that, nothing can happen, right? The content, the subjects, the course, right? That is another important. I will say, I'm not saying most important, but say another component. So today, you go and buy the books, whether say e-book or paper book, but the content in that book is very passive. What does it mean? Means basically it will tell you what is written there. You just read it. It's not interactive. The content is, the digital content is not interactive. It's not action oriented, and it's not intelligent either. Right? They're very passive. Right? You read it, at the end of the chapter, there might be a set of questions, you answer them. There may be some glossary at the back end of the book, right? But the content itself, not interactive, not intelligent, not active oriented. So, what these content publishers like Pearson, McGraw-Hill, Tata, right? All these basically who are creating the books and those things, what they are doing? They are making the content intelligent, interactive, right? And the reason is why they are making, because, see, today basically when you read it, okay, some you are reading and then you see some concept, let's say the Boyle's law, which you read it in the 3rd chapter, a month back, you forgot it, you just go there, right? So you manually basically flip the pages, you go and find it out where is the Boyle's law. But now if somehow magically, if I can figure it out, what is the important thing in the chapter? Think in that way, right? And that's what the technology. Magically you figure it out, okay, this is the book, or this is the learning object, which is 10 pages or 100 pages long. Now, if you have a black box, which is full of technology, you give the input, ebook, or this learning object, and then output is a learning object, but is an intelligent learning object. That is, it identifies which are the concepts, it identifies which are the technical terms, it identifies which are the illustrative examples, it identifies how different or how dispersed the concepts are, right? It identifies basically what relates to what. If it automatically identifies and then gives you the intelligent or tagged, right, content which are more semantically rich and understandable. And that's what you do. If you recall this, the same concept, if you go to Google or Yahoo or any other search email management system, when you open and see the email, let's say basically your friend is okay, tomorrow I'm planning to go to Jaipur. When it comes to the Jaipur, what happens? Sorry?
It starts showing all the hotels and
What happens basically that it underlines the dotted line the Jaipur. It means it identifies the Jaipur. When you move your cursor to Jaipur, it will show you the Jaipur, the population or this or that. Means it is bringing some additional metadata, right? And enriching the content by tagging it. It's not a part of the content, but it is augmenting the additional information which helps the user or which helps the learner to understand the content more deeply. What the point? So that's what the transformation is. And this market is huge. All companies, as I said, the Pearson, the McGraw-Hill, whether the MHM or any other basically allied publishing, all of them are moving to this side. Right? And the reason is, another reason is that if you look at the market, but already 25% of the book market has already moved to the e-book. Right? So the people typically, here also in India, people are looking at the things on the tablet, right? Whether it's an iPad or Akash tablet or any other things, they are not worrying about the paper book. We used to basically, so many of you or all of you used to carry a heavy bag of 12 clothes. Now what they carry in the some advanced school or where this facility is there, they either carry only the one laptop, right? Sorry, one Akash tablet or iPad. So that is one part. The other part is that once you make the content intelligent, then you need to store them somewhere, isn't it? Your mails, your files, where they are stored? They are stored in some folder, right? Microsoft, that is called the file system, right? So whatever you create, you save it. When you save it, it goes and store it in some folder. Now, what we want to do in this file system, we want to make the file system itself intelligent, so that it can give the personalized education to the each individual. Right? And again, I am talking this more on the flipped classroom model. Right? So for example, all of you are registered in my subject. Right? Now I run a query, I give the query that give me the students, predict the students who are going to fail in my subject. Out of 150, I get that these are the 12 students who are likely to fail. Right? In the beginning of the course, in the beginning, I have not taken any test. And how does it do? It predict, right? It's called the predictive analytics. It can, right, from the historical data. And let me relate this. When they send the coupon, or they say you that this is an offer for you, right? You get the offer from Citibank, HDFC, and this, they personalize the offer. And when they personalize the offer, what they do, they analyze the data about you and the other people who are very similar to you in your bucket, based on the what transactions you are making, where these transactions are being made, or which categories they are made, right? All the expenses that you have been doing, that's what they do. So now I say my software gives that these are the 12 students who are going likely to fail in my subject. Now, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? I run the software, I give 150 students, I give their all the data of the previous years, what marks they have got, what is the prerequisite of the subject, blah, 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 and gives you, hey, these are the 12 students who are going to fail, likely to fail in my subject. Then what do I need to do? Should I allow them? Should I continue basically? Right? Or do I need to do anything else? The objective is to maximize the student's performance. That is what I've been evaluated. Right? Now I will always see that all the students should pass, should do the best in my subject. So my software gives that these are the 12 students who are likely to fail. Then what do I need to do? There is a concept of teachers parent meeting. Why the teachers parent meeting? Basically they invite the parents so that the parents are very well aware how their wards are doing in the class. So what do I need to do? For those 12 students, I need to develop some personalized and instructional intervention plan, some education plan, that what do I need to do, where do I need to intervene, so that this student really does well in my subject. Isn't it? That's what this basically a teacher's job should be. Right? When the teachers basically say this student is not doing well, what the teacher does, teacher basically sends an email, can you come and see me for half an hour and tell that, look, you are the weak, let me basically work with you, I will sit with you for an hour or two, I will clear the concept, right? That's what this is called the personalized or the instructional intervention plan. But the question is, the software should do that automatically. That is what the education transformation is. Now, once the software has given that this is the intervention plan. So I identified the students who are at risk. Second is basically I develop the intervention plan, and the third is the execution. That is what content, what learning object I should deliver to this student so that he can understand. See what happens basically if you go to like Khan Academy, you don't see the content based on the grade. You don't see, right? So what happens basically that when you go for, let's say, any book on the chemistry, right? I forgot the author's name of the chemistry, but but what happens basically when you ask, it gives you, okay, these are the 10 contents. Now, one book might be simpler than the other one. And every student has a different IQ to digest the information. Right? So what happens that the system should tell, hey, this student A cannot digest this learning object X because the complexity of learning object X is more higher than what he can grasp. Right? That is called the comprehension burden of that content. Right? So these are the different steps of the education transformation. So what the industry is moving is basically moving from a class-based room model to the flipped classroom based model. And in the flipped classroom model, you need a technology. You need a transformation in the education, and that is what is the education transformation is. Did you get this? Sure? Pakka? Good. Okay, I'll speak basically on different topics, but let me see if you have any question. Any question on anything?
Does it have to be related to this educational transformation thing?
Yeah, very little.
Sir, you said that, Ms. Mohana said that your area of interest was distributed databases and data warehousing. So, when you are dealing with distributed databases, even though traditional SQL databases they have a lot of solid mathematics behind them, they actually fall short when you are dealing with distributed systems. So now we have things like MapReduce stores and document stores. What do you think is the future of these NoSQL databases? Where are they headed? Is there any research opportunity in them?
Okay, I can answer that in detail, but let me ask the other people, do you know what is no? He said several buzz things. MapReduce, he said NoSQL, he said distributed databases, he said the data warehousing. Do you understand what is this? No? How many of you understand database? Forget about distributed database. Okay. So database is nothing, is basically a collection of data. Think in that way. It's a very simple term. Okay? So if I collect the information about you, then it becomes what? A database. A distributed database means when I take this data, collection of the data, and if I distribute it, right, without letting the whosoever the user, he does not know the where and how the data is being distributed, that is what the distributed data is. So, can you give me one example of distributed database? Not you. Can you give me the distributed database? You do every day, not every day. When you go home, you book the ticket, or you go to the railway reservation system, right? You go you want to book a ticket from Bombay to Calcutta. Till 10-15 years back, there was a dedicated line, right? Bombay, trains departing from Bombay, this is the line. Trains departing from Ahmedabad, this is the line. Trains departing from Jaipur, this is the line. Now these days you can go to any line, you can book the ticket from anywhere. right? That's what the distributed, truly distributed means. The railway reservation, the air reservation, right? It's truly, right? So that is how the data is being distributed. Like user does not know, user gives a query, asks a question, and then the guy will decide that where this question can be answered. So he sends this query, right, question, either when if it has a knowledge that hey, this question from Bombay to Ahmedabad reservation, basically the train departs from Bombay, therefore I should send my query to this computer, right? Now, or basically what it does, basically it federates that query to everywhere, hey, answer this, just like a broadcast kind of message, right? Answer this, if it can answer, rest will not answer. Now then he said it's a data warehousing. Data warehousing is a kind of, what you do basically when you have a distributed databases, a federated, heterogeneous databases, you go and collect the information and put it in one centralized place. Example is the bank, right? So you have a retail banking, you have an account with the bank, you have a credit card, you have a personal loan, you have a car loan. All the data about you is stored separately because you are dealing with the different business units in the bank, right? And typically what happens basically, the business, any new business will not start everything right from day one, right? Like for example, the Bharti, Reliance, anything, what they did, they started the first mobile, right, phone. Then basically they started the broadband. Then they started DTH. Then they started radio servicing, right? Then they started mobile money, right? So they start the business in an incremental fashion. And when they start the business, what happens basically, they have a separate business unit. Okay, you are the CXO for the mobility, you are the CXO for the DTH, right? So if I am a customer, I give my name here Mukesh Kumar Mohania, another place I give MK Mohania, another place give I Mukesh Mohania. When I give the address here, I say I live that बगीचे के पीछे मंदिर के सामने, right? It's a different combination of that, right? Now when the information about the same entity, means person, means object, is stored at multiple places, and when you combine it after cleaning and unification, standardization, MK Mohania, Mukesh Kumar Mohania, Mukesh Mohania, M Mohania, Mohania spelling different. If I say, hey, all these guys, MK Mohania, Mukesh Mohania, all this nothing, it's a Mukesh Mohania, then I put the information at one central place, it is a data warehouse, right? So it collect the information from different sources, do all the extracting, transformation, whatever, and then you load it at one place. It is called the data warehouse. Then he said, so typically in these databases, you run a query, a very structured query, like it is called SQL, structured query language. So you say select, say name from some, let's say, student table, where teacher equal to something, right? And year equal to this thing. So give me all the students who are enrolled in a, let's say, in chemistry class, which is being taught by Dr. Vivek Srivastava. You got all the names. Now, if you look at the trend, and I'll spend few minutes here. What is happening in any organization? This data, which is of structured data, is very small. Let me take the university. University environment, what they have structured data? Students' records, the subjects, the faculty, who is teaching what, room locations, so on. Now they have lots of other information which is called the unstructured data, right? your emails, your chat, your interaction with the teacher, your video files, like mic, whatever I'm giving, this will be loaded in the one, that is what we say, all the transcription. You have a lot of information, and this information is typically 85% of the total information. My structured data is very small, it's a fraction of the total data. My unstructured data is becoming almost double every year in any organization. Right? See, earlier we were not storing this kind of information. So now if I need to process the unstructured data, which is video, audio, any other types of data, and I'm dumping this data which I don't know a priori the type of the data that I need, and which cannot fit in the traditional database system where you need the NoSQL databases. NoSQL means not only SQL, means you can store all this information in the databases, like any, I wouldn't say database, any file system, let's say Hadoop, data distributed file systems, or any other file system, and you store it, right, and then you process it. And that's what is the NoSQL age. The future of the NoSQL is very bright, in my opinion. And the reason is, how many of you have heard the name of big data? It's a big bunch. There are 4 buzzwords in the industry. Can you tell me? One is big data. I have said all these 4 words, 3 at least I have said in my talk. Another is the cloud. How many of you have heard cloud? Right? University announced we are the first university to be a cloud based. That means you don't need to come. You are sitting on a beach, you are sitting on Aravali Hills, or Nimgana Fort, behind the Nimgana Fort, you are working from there. Right? So big data ho gaya, cloud ho gaya, then come on. I have said that. The third is mobile. Today, all companies are gung-ho about mobile. Look at bank. Have you ever thought basically that you will have first of all, more than 10-15 years back, at least in India, did you ever thought that you can do the banking from home? No. Right? Then, today basically you can do the banking while you are on the road. Bank has come to your mobile, isn't it? That's the transformation of mobile. And the fourth is, if I want to know about you, what you like, what you dislike, right, with whom you are interacting, what you are not doing, and this, what is that?
Social network.
Sorry? Social data is one that basically comes in the big data. But how will I come to know he likes, he has an interest in, let's say, in databases? Out of you, right, he asked me a question about related to the databases. I'm just taking broader category, databases. I know Mr. X is interested in databases. How did I come to know this? Assume basically that all of you asked me the question, but then I'm saying, hey, Mr. X is interested in databases, therefore I should send this article. I should send this conference. I should ask him to submit a paper in a particular conference. I should ask him basically to come and deliver a lecture in a particular talk. How do I know? This can be done by analytics. These are the 4 big areas in all industry. Irrespective of any sector, whether it's a government to public sector, whether it's a banking to the insurance sector, whether it's a manufacturing to the automobiles, or any sector, these companies cannot survive without deploying these 4 kinds of technologies. the word I use, survival. Why today there is everybody is struggling for survival? Why? Because the market has become so competitive. It's so competitive that they have to think out of the box that what do I need to do? Look at the IndusInd Bank. Idea is very simple. Look at the HDFC Bank. They got big advertisement about what? Sorry? The ATM personalization, right? You basically, in one click you can withdraw the money. You don't have to click 4 or 5 times. Because they know that every time you go, 80% of the time you withdraw only 5,000 rupees. Right? Look at the IndusInd Bank. They advertised even yesterday or day before yesterday, the 1/3 of their accounts in recent past, they have come because of, you don't read newspaper or TV, you don't, they have done very personalization things. What is that?
You can choose your own account.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Now you see what is great. But look at from a customer point of view. If I like, lucky number is my 7, and if I see in my account if there are 5 7s, I'm really lucky. Because this is Indian mentality. Right? This is our mentality. Even if we see the car number, right, we choose the car number, what is suitable to me. Maybe some numerology or whatever those things are there. Right? Now, because of that, idea started this. And see the number of connections, the new connections that people are going to idea. Because of that, they are saying, hey, now you basically, okay, I want the last 4 digit 456. I want basically 1 2 3. My house number is 456. Therefore, I need basically 456, the last digit. Right? That's what the is. Right? So that is what the market, there is a lot of, so the people are coming, these businesses are coming with a very small but innovative ideas. And remember, one size, कहते हैं ना कि एक size हर एक को fit नहीं होता है. One size does not fit to all. It's the same thing basically that if you take the innovations from one industry, that does not mean that innovation will fit everywhere. So you need to think what my customer needs. You need to think how can I get the new customers? How can I personalize my services to the customers? And that's what basically is the game of the survival. Right? Today you will not mind. Look at the industry. Some banks are giving 7%, some banks are giving 6%. But still, majority of the banks are giving 4%. They have moved to the 3.5%. But the 4% one, their revenue is still increasing. Right? Some bank, I will not name, some bank say, hey, don't think basically you got 2%. Think basically you got 50% more interest. But still they did not get, right? Still they did not get accounts, many accounts. Right? So today, what you see the services, and this is one of the reason that government or any if you look at the world's economy, right? Or if you look at very management from an economy point of view, from a developed countries, they survive because of the services. You are willing to pay 10 rupees more if the other person really smiles and give the service with a smile. Right? That's what is service. You go and call the call center, oh look, I'm not happy because you get connection, you go to another place. Right? So that's what the so yes, it is a lot of value, right? Because new data is emerging, particularly from the social data, Today you are willing to put lot more information on the social data. You tell, I'm going here, now I'm going to my friend's room, I'm doing this, I bought this, I like this. You are telling basically the rest of the world. They can consume, they can analyze this information. They know that he likes this and he's communicating to this person, therefore this person might be interested to buy that. And they go and target that person. Right? So that's the, you got the answer? Good. Any other question?
What is big data?
Big data means the data that, so you know data, right? Big data means if you bring the data from different places, which is, okay, the big data has 4 qualities, let me put it in this way. 4 V's. 4 V's. One is the velocity. Okay? That is the data arriving at a very fast speed. Right? Streaming data. So I have a sensor, I have a video, right? This video is basically, let's say, being broadcast somewhere. This is the streaming data. Right? One is basically the velocity, the veracity. Veracity means basically that the quality of the data is not predictable. Right? Sometimes it has a lot of noise, right? It is not reliable from some sources, right? Then volume. The data has a large volume, right? The social data. Give me another example. If you look at, in India, if you look at, let's say, company Bharati, when you make a call, okay, tell me one very interesting question. Tell me what, India is the leader in the telecom, right? All the countries in the world, they have recognized this, that India has really transformed the telecom sector, right? So you know what we means all of you or all of us, we invented one thing in the telecom. You know what? Sorry? No, invented is very missed call. Blank call, right? When a blank call leaves, so much there. Right? That's a, you will never find anywhere else in the world. India invented this, right? Because of the poor people and they're working, they give it to the police, Malik understands, right? Because of this, right? So third is the volume. Okay? Means data is getting, so in Bharati, for example, when you make a call, when I make a call, it goes to the somewhere in the tower nearby, whichever is this. That tower basically hand over the signals to another tower. So whenever it goes in every switch, the switch generates a CDR called description record, right? So they get, if I'm not wrong, some billions of CDRs every day, billions of CDRs, right? So volume हो गया, volume, veracity, and what? Right. So and one more V. I'm just forgetting. Right. There is one more V. So if you take this, any data which is coming at a very high speed, right, and variety. The fourth is the variety, right? So variety means the different kind of data. So if you bring different kind of data, it arriving at a very high speed, volume is very large, and some data is not reliable, and if you dump that data, right, that is what is the big data is. So the big data has 4 characteristics, 4 V's: volume, variety, veracity, and fourth one did I say? Velocity. Right? And if you bring this data at one place, that is what is big data is, and if you dump that data somewhere and you process it, that's the big data one. I'll give you one example of big data application. All of you, see today what happens, like for example in my home also, and I'm sure in your home also, wherever you come from, you have a one line. That line at home gets broadband signal, gets your phone signals and get your TV signals also. Right? All three of them are there. And they are coming through one single service provider. Right? Now, service provider knows what sites you are browsing. Right? They know. You went to this site and you went to that site and this. Right? Service provider knows what channels you are watching. Right? So think in this way, that you are watching a program, some movie, some sports, or whatever is there. Right? Today you get the advertisement which are for everyone. If I want to personalize the advertisement based on what program you watch, based on what site you have visited, and then I personalize basically that, let's say you visited a particular site, makemytrip.com, for a particular hotel, right? And then basically you get that, okay, is a 10% additional discount only for you if you stay in this hotel on Neelam, right? So that is what is the big data application, right? Think basically, give you another example. In India, you know, we have a problem of fake currency, isn't it? And it's very hard to basically that, you know, and then we have a problem of cash for vote, the parliament mein hua tha, right? We don't know how, if you want to track how the money is circulating from one hand to another hand, right? And every currency has its own life cycle, right? Each of us has our own life. Similarly, every currency note, when the Reserve Bank of India releases that money from Nashik, right? It has its own money. Like for example, a $5 note will circulate in the market, say for example 5 years, 7 years, right? यहाँ पे क्या होता है? It goes in circulation unless it becomes really, you know, kind of rubbish. And then you go basically, somebody is not accepting, then what you do? You go to the यहाँ कटे फटे नोट बदले जाते हैं. You go there and then you get 450 rupees, right? You exchange. But now if you want to track this problem, right? No, this is value. So think basically that you have a currency counting note, this currency counting machine. You have a sensor, and that when it is counting the note, it's sensing basically the number. In real time, it is querying the Reserve Bank of India database, finding that, okay, this note, has it expired, is it valid, is it fake, and this and that. You get all that information, you get on the tailor gets that screen before him or her, problem is solved. So now you are providing these services to millions of people, huge amount of data, huge amount of data. You have a sensor data, you have this data, you know basically where the currency is being circulated, you can analyze it, you can say, a particular area, there is a lot of fake currency circulation, you can basically get it down to the, nail it to the right problem, right? And then you can also say, okay, this money basically was circulated in a particular person, which was caught red-handed to giving this money basically came from that customer who basically withdrew the money from that bank. It means it is likely that that person basically bribed that other person, right? So you do a lot of things. So these are all big data applications. Any other questions? Males are dominating, which is not a good thing, right? Girls. Any other question? Come on. You all are having fun here in the campus, beautiful campus.
Yes.
Any experience, good or bad? Both? Tell us. Tell that experience you have got.
There was a lizard found in the dal.
Sorry? Yeah, there was what?
There was a lizard found in the dal.
A live one.
Did you cry? No? So what he's saying, be prepared. There may be some basically in your room or nearby area, right? Any questions or any did you enjoy basically this interaction?
Yes, sir.
Pakka?
Yes,
You have said yes sir from last 20 times when Dr. Mukana said also this. Like there has to be some other voice. Okay, so last time, any other things, any you want to know about the industry, about how you should shape up? Let me say one thing, okay, which is my last thing. So, I have been in academics, I was a professor for several years in Australia as well as in US. Right? I'm in industry from the last 12 years, almost next month I'm completing, end of this month I'm completing 12 years. I have seen the both life, 7 years in academics, I have seen my student life at IIT Bombay, basically doing all those things, right? And as well as basically here in academics. What I will urge you, right, and this is again is from my experience, that you should strive really hard to excel in area that interests you, whatever area it is, right? Today, saying in old zamane mein, it used to be that only these two areas or whatever is good, right? Today, in this modern era, where you all dominate basically, you should really think of excelling in any area, whatever it lies. Number one. Number two is my personal recommendation. My personal recommendation is that those who are interested, right, should go for the pursuit for the higher education. It's must. If you look at the industry today, right, and I understand that lot better than you do, right? There's a quantum jump when you graduate at an undergraduate, you go to the marketplace, or you do the post-graduation, or you do the PhD. There's a quantum jump in terms of everything, whether it's a financials, or whether it's your own satisfaction, or basically anything else, right? So these are the two things basically I would like to say and thank you so much. And I wish you all the best for your